Hello and welcome back to another episode here at the SteelerFury.com podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Kohlman. You know me as Smith is Smoking on the message boards, joined by Will Masisak, one of the best co-hosts that money can buy, but which we don't possess. You know him as Bradshaw to Ben on the boards and Accidental Zen on Twitter. Also joined by our colleague, Mark Sheppard, Bears fanatic, as he likes to be called. So, Mark, welcome to the show, buddy. We're glad to have you on
Hi,
on this week's episode.
it's
Yeah,
great to be
man.
here. Thank you. I think we
Yeah,
did this one other time, maybe 8 years ago or
I
something
think
like
it's
that.
been a really long
Yeah,
time, and I
Yeah,
don't believe this is your first time on the show.
it's
But,
not,
buddy, your
but
first
welcome
time
back.
first time we're seeing you on the show, and you are a handsome dog, man. No
well,
question.
I don't know. I'm trying to keep up with you, man.
Yeah,
You
well, that's
said,
the thing. We usually have Corey, who's also got the flow, and he's also
dude, I'm just
the guy
keeping
that.
up with you, man. You're out there setting records every week.
Nah, it's listen, I'm just I need some people on here to raise the level of the seriousness of the show because
Well,
I obviously don't have any of that. How's your left wrist? Is it intact?
my left wrist is fine.
Yeah,
What?
so that makes one person in Chicago this weekend who will have a full wrist, Jeremy.
Yeah, we will definitely get to that as Aaron
I was gonna
Rodgers
say,
had
is that a story
no.
that I know nothing about?
Well, you're going to definitely hear a lot more about it, Mark, because I'm sure the media just won't keep their mouth shut about it. Right?
That wrist.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
That wrist, yes.
But yeah, so
Mine
Aaron
is fine.
Rodgers.
I can't speak to your favorite team's quarterback.
Yep. So Aaron Rodgers had to leave after the first half from this past week. It was a win over the Bengals. I think it was 34-12, if my memory serves right. It was a weird 22-point victory, kind of one of those odd scores you win by, which I think, Will, you were actually pretty close on the score game, or was it Corey this time?
No, I was closer this week.
That's
You were
almost
closer.
scorigami. That's almost scorigami,
I
by the
think I
way.
was just actually, Mark. That's funny that you said that because I was just thinking, was that scorigami? You know what? While you're talking, I'll put that in there.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
34 scorigami?
But yeah, so nice win for the Steelers. Their defense showed up very well. Limited Jamar Chase this time around, which is a nice change of pace considering the last time was like 16 catches for like seemingly 250 some yards in the score or whatever, but held him to 3 catches for I think it was like 30 some yards. So Steelers defense definitely stepped up. Got 2 defensive scores. Been waiting for a Kyle Duggar pick 6. He finally got his chance for it. Honestly, should have had a second. Dropped an opportunity for a second, but pretty good win all around. Offense, I think, could have done a little better. I know a little bit of that is Aaron Rodgers going out, Mason Rudolph coming in. Some inconsistencies there just because he's been on the bench all year long. And leave it up to Rudolph to join us for the holidays, as usual, in Pittsburgh. But so, Will, were there any other things from this past victory that we can really speak on before
Well,
we?
I know you mentioned James Pierre, but that's a real story, I think.
Woo.
James Pierre, for those of you that haven't been paying attention that closely for the last few years, has been borderline acceptable when he's filled in previously. Kind of like, all right, for like a little while you could have him in your lineup and it won't kill you, but he hasn't really raised his level of play where you'd like, well, I'd really like that guy to start. But this season is completely different. He's got some like crazy, we often poo-poo PFF, but I think his PFF rating is in the 90s right now. So he's done some amazing stuff at the least of, not the least of which was shadowing Jamar Chase, and wasn't the only person that covered him, but he was a big part of that, and a big part of why the switch of Jalen Ramsey going to safety seems to have really helped their
Yeah.
stability on defense a little bit. So yeah, that stuff was really great. And then there's this guy Darnell Washington, who is a 311-pound man who in one game hurdled a guy, juked someone, like he made a cut that made a safety miss him. He ran through about 4 guys, stiff armed somebody into the sideline. It's like, the only thing left is for him to like run away from the defense, which he's like a 4'6" guy. He might be able to do that. So that's pretty exciting that they're actually attempting to give him the ball and touches once in a while.
Yeah.
So these are all positive developments, but the bottom line is Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, Jalen Warren being hurt.
Mm-hmm.
These are big problems. The offensive, even when they weren't hurt, was really an issue. So that's something for this week. Mark, I don't know. Did you get a chance to see even highlights of the Steelers game or
I did.
at all this year?
Yeah, I did see those, and you got to take it somewhat with a grain of salt because of the opponent. But even still, I mean, it's a positive step. The Steelers were struggling a bit, and everybody is under the assumption that Baltimore is just going to pass them. But Steelers showed up. They beat a team, and we're going to get to this concept of beating teams that are on the schedule that are not very good that you're supposed to beat in a second, because I think that might be relevant to the Bears. But, I think the Steelers, they look primed for this weekend for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's going to depend on, who we end up trotting out there at quarterback. While we're kind of on the topic of injuries, we'll kind of go over the injury report here. Everyone in Pittsburgh practiced today, believe it or not, other than Cam Hayward. And for those of you who have been trying so hard to get on the Corey Trice train and try to move that car onto the tracks, no, the setback, he's on IR the rest of the year. He will not be coming back from his IR window. So Mark, I've
feeling that's it for
past.
him. Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead, Will.
I'm just going to say you have to have a feeling that that's it for him. I don't expect to see him back. I think that's 3 times now.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't finished the season yet in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Missed his entire rookie year, came back and played very subpar last year. I understand it was kind of his first snaps or whatever, but then to not be able to be on the field again this year. So, Mark, he is our 7th round choice from 2022, 2023. I can't remember, but he even missed his last year in college due to an ACL, and he just extremely talented kid who just can't stay healthy or whatever. So
it was the steal of the draft. You got this guy; he's amazing, and it's well, when he's healthy.
Yeah. So that he will be joining the Steelers from the sideline the rest of the year. With that being said, like I said, every other Pittsburgh Steeler practiced today other than Cam Hayward, just the typical veteran did not practice, rest type of day. But Aaron Rodgers got in a light practice today. I don't really know what that means at this point, but it's something to note heading into the weekend. And also Jalen Warren upgraded from a did not practice yesterday to a lightly practice today.
All of Chicago is fascinated to know whether the quarterback Sunday is going to be Mason Rudolph or, Mr. Left Wrist.
Well, listen, I'm not sure that I can live through another Mason Rudolph game from start to finish. So for all of our sakes, let us hope that Aaron Rodgers is able to go.
Well, Bears fans are invested in this too, and we can get into this, but, given his current state and everything, we haven't faced him in a couple of years. And the way the last time he went to Chicago went with the famed, maybe infamous, I own you comment. I think most Bears fans are at least a little bit excited about the possibility of playing him again, considering where the Bears are, where the Steelers are, and where he is physically, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. They want a chance to maybe have the last laugh. This will probably be the last time that Rodgers gets a chance to play Chicago, in all honesty, with,
certainly in Chicago, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in Chicago. And then, this is likely to be Rodgers' last year anyway. He's been very candid about that this was probably his last ride on the cart. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can play or not, because I think the Steelers' victory or loss hangs on who is in at quarterback this week. I really do believe that. So,
I'll go as far as to say, even if he plays, it's quite a compromise. I know, I'm old enough to remember, you guys are not. Terry Bradshaw played 3 games in a season with a broken left wrist, right? So it's not impossible to play quarterback, but let me just tell you, it's tough to take snaps from under center with a broken left wrist. It's tough to catch shotgun snaps that are away from your body, which if you've noticed this season with Aaron Rodgers, there've been quite a few of those where he casually, reaches out and makes a catch, but those things are no longer routine. Not to say he can't do it. And then the last part is I'm told that if he's resting, he doesn't need to get any kind of surgery or whatever. But if he's playing, that probably he needs a screw to stabilize the injury so that it doesn't get worse whenever he gets hit again. And the problem with that is that would cause him to miss a week. So in other words, he could miss 1 week and play with a broken wrist. It's tough to come back within a week, not have a procedure, and be able to actually.
Well, has he officially been diagnosed as having a broken wrist?
Oh yeah, it's definitely broken.
So he definitely has the fracture, because that was question number one. Question number one was, does he have the fracture? Question number two was, what type of treatment is needed? And then question number three was, could he play this week?
Right. So I spoke to somebody who's involved in he's NFL adjacent medical, so generally a pretty good source of information, especially on rehab of injuries and time frame of injuries and whatever. And his take was, I don't know. He was confirming. I was asking about a report I had seen where, they didn't think he'd be able to hand off using his left hand because it's like exactly the thing that hurts that or joint or that bends the joint or whatever. So real hard to. He would have to have some kind of a cast or some soft cast or something. But here's what I would say: if you have a difficulty handing off with your left hand reaching out, so for the runner going to to the right side, and you have a hard time taking steps from under center, that already really changes what the Steelers' offense has been all about doing. But I'm not saying it's impossible to do, but I'm saying you're gonna have to spend a lot of time and energy during the practice week figuring out how to protect that.
And of course, there's Novocaine.
There is, in fact, Novocaine. I mean, to me, the bigger issue is making it worse because, it's not a playoff game. It's not a do or die game. That's what makes me feel like he's not going to play because I think even if he's somewhat able to play but compromised, it's better off to let it heal a little while before you risk losing him for the season because he broke his wrist fully or losing him for a month or something.
Right, but it's a fracture, so it's not going to heal in a week, right?
No. It's just what I'm saying is he could get a screw and be ready in a week to be able to play with it until it was healed enough to take the screw out.
But the thing is, wouldn't they, if that was the process, if that was the plan, wouldn't they have just put the screw in already and declared him out for the week? So they're trying. Apparently, it sounds like. And none of this would happen if he didn't want it to happen. Whatever he wants to happen will happen. He's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, have you met Aaron Rodgers? Exactly.
So it sounds like he really wants to play against the Bears, it sounds like. And he thinks he can.
I don't know. Me personally, I would have him in shotgun and pistol and basically just try to beat the Bears by throwing it all over the
But he hates shotgun.
I understand. I'm just saying where he is physically. It's kind of sort of like, you remember when Ben had the Frankenfoot? He had like a high ankle sprain and he played with it and they taped it up. It was just like he could barely move, but he's like, okay, I'm going to get out there and play. And they put him in pistol, which they had never lined up that way ever.
Okay, first of all, that day that Ben could barely move was 2004, I believe, was the first day he could barely move. Ben Roethlisberger's career was never about moving. Ben Roethlisberger's career was about nobody can bring this guy down.
It was never about moving fast. I'll give you that. But movement was a key part of his game. But fast, no.
I mean, when he went 15-1 in his rookie year, 2004, it wasn't about moving, right? It was about
he was like the Matrix, like avoiding the shots.
Well, try bringing a human being that big down. I mean, that was that was mostly the thing, right?
Yeah.
Well,
but Aaron Rodgers is built very differently.
Yeah, his head is bigger for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, we'll see how it goes. I just feel like if your quarterback is injured, but you really need him to play, which they do because it's a miles long drop off to Mason Rudolph.
Right.
So as I don't even think Aaron Rodgers is really at the top of his game. It's still a miles off drop off to Mason
Oh,
Rudolph.
of course. I mean,
So they're
absolutely.
going to want him to play, and it's their situation is it's not precarious like they're going to be out of the playoffs if they lose this week, but it's also not super secure either. So yeah, every game is important. I would just say, it's a non-conference game, and it's of all the games remaining on their schedule, it's one of the two that they could afford to lose that would hurt them the least in the long run.
Is the other one maybe the Vikings?
Detroit. They already played the Green Bay and Minnesota.
That's true.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just these non-conference games don't hurt as much as a conference game or a division game would hurt. That's all I'm saying. I don't wish him to not play because, like I said, my eyes will be burned out of the sockets suffering through another Mason Rudolph game. But yeah, I mean, at least Aaron Rodgers, even with a broken wrist, can throw to his left. So that makes him already. I'd rather have him play than Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing. If there was ever a game to lose, it'd be this one because losing to the NFC, that's not going to hurt tiebreakers and stuff when it comes to the wild card. If the Steelers were to drop out, because a lot of people are saying the Ravens may surpass the Steelers and try for the division crown or whatever. At least that NFC loss would not hurt them in the wild card standings. That way,
Correct.
could get the top wild card.
That's right. That conference tiebreaker is critical in that regard.
Right.
And they're competing with the Chargers and
Buffalo right now,
and and Buffalo and
the
and maybe the Texans / Jaguars. It depends.
Yeah.
Both teams really, and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So but that's a huge conference record. What is the Steelers' conference record right now?
That's a really good question. I've got their schedule pulled up.
I'm trying to think. They don't have a division loss yet.
We lost to the Bengals the first time around.
Oh yeah, that's right.
On Thursday night.
Don't remind me.
The Steelers are oh no, that's only home and away. Sorry.
Let's see. Well, I could have swore I had the schedule up.
Well, let's see. I could probably remember what the 4 losses are. It was the Bengals, so that's one AFC loss.
Steelers had a bye week, right?
Yeah,
so they're 5-4 at the moment.
Here we go. So so Seattle was an NFC loss. Bengals AFC, Packers NFC, Chargers AFC. So
they have
two conference losses.
Yeah, 2 conference losses.
And 3 conference wins.
Or 4.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3.
Or 5 conference wins. New England, which is a big
5.
Big
5.
So 5-2 in the conference. They're they're in okay shape, but their schedule doesn't really get any easier. So
sure doesn't. Not to mention if the score holds current tonight, Buffalo's going to be pissed they lost another. So Houston is currently up on Buffalo.
That's right.
Thanks for letting me know. Because
I know. Sorry, I got that. Well, the reason I keep looking over to what's my right is I've got that game on Buffalo Houston.
Well, I never watch until after the show's over. So
okay,
I will not tell you. Let me know, Jeremy.
I will not say anything else then about the score. But I've got a little bit of. I got a tiny bit of skin in the game. So
that's why you're interested, right? I got it. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Tiny bit.
Understood. Just quickly, Mark, tell us about the Bears last game, which I did see.
Well, so the thing was, I pride myself on watching every Bears game. And unfortunately, this is one I missed because I was coming back from New York City. And the timing worked out that I just couldn't see the game because I was mostly commuting to the airport. I did a lot of debriefing, or at least post-game research. I didn't interview Ben Johnson myself or anything like that, but I did look into the game. And so, it was a game, Bears-Vikings, and the Bears ended up winning on a last-second field goal, 1917. But, typical, and I want to get into this topic because it's typical of what we've seen this year out of the Bears. They kind of sort of struggled offensively for 3 quarters. And they did manage to get a lead against the Vikings. But they gave up as they've done several times. They gave up the lead to the Vikings late. JJ McCarthy, who's just awful, but he woke up for a drive and got the Vikings the go-ahead touchdown to go up 17-16 with probably 45 seconds left. But typical of the Bears, the Vikings kicked off to us. We ended up with a 45-yard return. That got us close enough to field goal range. Caleb Williams did enough to get us into field goal range. And then Cairo Santos kicked the winner, which I think was something like a 40-yarder, something like that, to seal the victory, and with no time left. And so the Bears escaped by the skin of their teeth with another win. So as a victory, you look at a couple things. Solid defensive game, but again, it's questionable in terms of, was it really our defense or the fact that JJ McCarthy, who is dreadful right now, is it the fact that he was QB? Is that really what really won us the game?
All right. Well, so
and we only put up 19 points.
Yeah. Are you kidding? That's a 19 points of a huge output for a Steelers offense. The Steelers, of their 34 points, 14 of them at least were actual defensive scores.
Yeah.
So they're on about a pace that's, maybe they scored 20 against one of the worst defenses in the league. Let's put it that way. But what I'd say about the JJ McCarthy thing is, it felt like watching it that he played a lot better than he did week one. He's still got a lot of ups and downs to his game and inconsistencies.
You think he was better than week one? Because in week one,
until the fourth quarter, he was absolutely dreadful.
And then he threw. I think he threw 2 touchdown passes
in the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter,
it felt like it was more.
This time only one.
I felt like the Bears' defensive, especially coverage, they were really physical in coverage in this game, and they were at least part of the reason that the Vikings were kept down. So I felt like the Bears played better than you would think in coverage, because they're, as the year goes, they haven't been great in their success rate on defense and pass coverage, but
no,
felt like they raised the ante. I mean, it's a little bit easier to play against a rookie.
Well, and a lot of that's it. That I think he's overthrowing guys constantly. And, I think that allowed us to be a bit more aggressive. Keep in mind, we've been missing our 2 best corners, Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson, the whole year, right? Jalen Johnson, there was a talk that he might not even play this year. Apparently, he's going to suit up on Sunday. Kyler Gordon will not be there, but his 21-day window for returning is just opened. So he'll be back. He's not going to play against the Steelers. But focusing on the Minnesota game, though, I think we were allowed to play more aggressively because JJ McCarthy's awful.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
He's awful. And I told everybody he was going to be awful. And let me tell you something. It's not just because I'm a Michigan hater. And I am a Michigan hater. But that has nothing to do with it. For example, I'm an Aiden Hutchinson fan. Big time. Love that dude. But JJ McCarthy, I said, you're taking who with the number 6 pick overall when Minnesota did that? Okay, well, Godspeed, because I just don't see it with him.
Hold on, there's time out for just a second. This is the segment of the show we like to call Full Disclosure.
Oh, here it comes.
Jeremy, would you like to guess, JJ McCarthy from the Michigan Wolverines team? Jeremy, would you like to guess which team Mark Sheppard roots for?
I will not lie.
It sounds like he could be a Buckeye fan.
You think? Maybe, yeah.
That is a fact.
Okay, better question. Mark, who's the last player from Michigan that you respected and thought was going to have an NFL career when they were coming out?
When they came to the NFL? Because
before they came to, as a prospect, you were like, all right, the guy's from Michigan, but I think he's actually a really good player.
Aiden Hutchinson, without question.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Without question.
You weren't poo-pooing him before he got there? And now
absolutely no.
I really like him now.
No. He destroyed the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Destroyed us. He was a one-man wrecking machine. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge Aiden Hutchinson fan. Some of their other guys, Blake Corum, I thought, yeah, we'll see. He could be another. What was the one guy's name I'm trying to think of? Mike, running back for them, who ended up going to the NFL like 10 years ago.
Oh,
Come
wow.
on, you know who I'm talking about.
You're not talking about Mike Hart, are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a perfect example. Michigan is really, and you know something, the most recent Michigan player I poo-pooed. I wasn't crazy about the Colston Loveland pick, keeping things sort of relevant to this weekend.
Yeah.
I was not crazy about that at 10 overall. If you're going to tell me he's a second rounder, okay. But I'm telling you, Michigan, here's what I don't, and yeah, call me a hater, say what you want. But Michigan turns out so many of these guys who are kind of really solid in college, they're Harbaugh guys, but they are just not that athletic. Look at the Schoonmaker with the Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I
thought that was a
wrong?
big reach at the
No.
time.
Am I wrong?
No.
Michigan turns out Mozzie Smith, Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's on his second team now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
He was a-
athletes, though. That's the thing. They got all these guys who are freaks, athletic freaks, and whatever, but it just doesn't always work out for them. Well, after the full disclosure, I should also say that Jeremy Kohlman roots for a team that is maybe the better team in the same conference.
Whoa, you're an Indiana fan, I take it.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess it could be Oregon.
Not only am I Indiana fan, got both my degrees from Indiana, worked in the IU football recruiting office with Indiana. So I am like Mr. Indiana football here.
Okay.
It's like I still know the recruiting coordinator down there. We chat
Oh, wow.
every now and then. It's funny you mentioned Mike Hart because he was a running backs coach at IU. I actually knew him, for a short time. I'm not sure he'd recognize me today or whatever, if we bumped into each other, but it's like he was a cool coach, good guy. If I remember correctly, he's actually had some health trouble recently. So I hope
that's too bad. I got nothing against the guy personally. I just don't like his school.
Yeah, fair. That's fair, man. I mean, I hate everyone that comes out of Purdue too, but George Karlaftis, hell of a player,
It's really Notre Dame as your special ire. Though Notre Dame is
I don't like Notre Dame either. Yeah, no, not at all.
Notre Dame is really your Michigan for Ohio State, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. Just because they've always stolen the best Indiana kids. All the good kids go to play at Notre Dame or your school, Ohio State. So I'm getting sick and tired of that shit.
No, I mean everybody in the Big Ten hates the Buckeyes, but
yeah,
I'll tell you, I like Indiana, man. Signetti, awesome coach. I hope he does not leave. I know they re-upped him with a huge buyout.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he sticks around. It's great for the conference. It's a total nobody in their right even 5 years ago would have anticipated this.
Hell no. Us fans wouldn't have even anticipated what we've done these last 2 years.
You guys might win the national championship this year. It's not on the question.
Yeah. Well, let's not speak it out too much. If we speak about it too much, it might not happen.
Exactly. I think this is the kind of thing you should not talk about.
It's like what Peter Griffin said on Family Guy. We can say that, but you can't say that.
Right.
It's actually the opposite, but
I like
That's
it.
great. I love the Family Guy reference. That's awesome.
But just getting back to it though. Yeah, I mean, look, JJ McCarthy. Look, I don't know how you guys want to structure this. I mean, we can dive right in. I can give you my take on the Bears.
Yeah,
you can ask me some questions. I'll ask you questions. I have some curiosity. I want to know what you guys think about this game, this matchup too. My take, I'll give you my overall take on the Bears, and that's there's not enough whiskey for me to talk about this. But
we're here for you, man. I can.
Okay, so we have
feel the feels coming.
We have 7 years. We have 7 wins this year, right? We're 7-3. Nobody expected us to be here. Vegas had us preseason as an over/under, I think, 8.5 wins. So, but we're already at 7. This is our 11th game. Think of our wins this year. We went 0-2, right? Lost to the Vikings, got destroyed by 30 by the Lions. We still have a negative point differential because of that game. And look at our 7 wins. First win, we beat the Cowboys, right? Second worst defense in the NFL. before the trades and everything. We'll see how they shake out going forward. But up until their bye week 2 weeks ago, they were second worst defense in the NFL, giving up 287 points. That was the Bears' first victory. And by the way, CD Lamb goes out in that game in the second quarter. So there you go, right? That's win number one. Win number two, Raiders. We win that one. First of all, they made a horrendous 4th-and-1 decision in terms of going for it with Geno Smith at QB. And then ultimately we blocked a field goal to win the game. We blocked a field goal by them to win the game. That's win number two. Win number three, we beat Washington when they literally handed us the game with the fumble by Jalen at the end to it was a bad exchange with the running back, but they basically gave it to Jaden Daniels rather, but they gave it to us right at the end. That's win number three. Win number four was the Saints, enough said. Win number five, after our bye week, was against the Bengals, worst defense in football, gave up 300 points in their first 9 games. And we basically gave that game away and almost lost it, but the Bengals bingled and we ended up winning. And that was win number 5. Win number 6 was against the Giants. If Jackson Dart doesn't get hurt in the third quarter, doesn't get the concussion, forcing him to bring Russell Wilson into that game, we were going to lose that game. It was a home game for us.
I'll bet you were so happy to see Russell Wilson.
Right.
Dude,
I bought shots for the bar. Are you kidding me? And then win number 7 last week, JJ McCarthy, which we just dissected a bit. So that's the Bears season. We're 7-3. Negative point differential. We don't, you can look to all kinds of things. I really would love to get you guys' take on this because I'm kind of curious. I can't listen to sports radio, local sports radio right now because they're just delusional. These people are talking about, they're not talking exactly Super Bowl, but they're talking about all kinds of stuff. They're calling this, one of the top 5 teams in the league, and there's craziness here. And I'm sorry. I love the Bears, but we're not that team at this point. We have not gotten a dose of reality. Ben Johnson has made a huge difference. The good, better, best. Never let it rest. Those post-game speeches, you gotta love it. Where he's coming from, what he's done. He's made some good decisions with the clock. Caleb is no question playing better. We can get into the GM, who I've got major issues with, but some of his decisions have paid off this year in terms of, Manon guy, the backup running back, has been tremendous at times. Honestly, I think they underutilized him against the Vikings. That's been effective. DeAndre Swift has been much better this year thanks to some better blocking schemes and better health. No question, the offensive line upgrade has been tremendous. Caleb Williams got sacked 68 times last year. He's only been sacked 16 times this year. You can't argue with the improvement. I think Roma Dunes has regressed a bit, especially after his hot start this year. I don't know what to do about DJ Moore. But, still, I think overall, good acquisition. Colston Loveland got the winning TD against the Bengals. And, it's a questionable pick, because I think he disappears too often. When you pick a tight end at number 10, he should look a lot more like Brock Bowers than like Luke Schoonmaker. And there's a little too much Cole Kmet / Luke Schoonmaker in Colston Loveland for me to think he should be a number 10 pick. The defense, here's the thing, guys, okay? At the beginning of the season, the Bears, ESPN ranked the top 100 players in the NFL. How many of those, I want your guess, how many of those players were drafted? First of all, no. How many of those players were Chicago Bears? Just give me a guess.
1.
I'll go 3.
You guys are both almost right, but equally. The answer's 2.
Yes,
that's amazing. Split the difference.
The answers are Joe Thuney
and
Jaylon Johnson.
I forgot they had Thuney. Yeah, okay.
What do those 2 players have in common?
They haven't played this year for the Bears.
They both have played. Well,
Thuney has played. Yeah, sorry.
Thuney has played
They're
every
both from
game.
they weren't drafted by the Bears. They were brought in.
Neither one was drafted by Ryan Poles, the current GM. Jalen Johnson was drafted by Ryan Pace because the Bears like Ryans as GMs. So our current GM has drafted 0 ESPN top 100 players, 0 Pro Bowlers, and 0 All Pro guys. That's kind of where our roster is. Look at our defense. Yeah, our strength is our secondary. We've had injuries there, but he's made mistakes in terms of he has to be accountable for. Montez Sweat, not that great of a pass rusher. I'm fascinated by what you guys are going to tell me tonight about how the Bears' pass rush is going to match up against the Steelers' offensive line, because we really don't have that much of a pass rush. We get a lot of our rush from our secondary. And we take advantage of Dennis Allen, our DC, former Saints head coach, takes a lot of advantage of penetration on blitzes by our secondary. But Kyler Gordon's great with that, but he's not in there. We get the Brisker is, but that's not how you want to win football games with corner and safety blitzes. So our linebacker play is pretty good. We beat up in the secondary, but the defense it's average at best. So I just don't see this team, and we have the toughest schedule in the NFL going down the stretch. I just don't see this team finishing with 11 wins or anything.
Well, here's what's funny. Your description of the Bears season and what you think their outlook is so similar to what our typical.
I was very say you beat me to it. Well,
really
beat me to it. Well,
really.
Yeah, because the only difference is that the Steelers have a lot of name value because they have these older guys that are not necessarily playing up to their name building.
Jalen Ramsey, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt.
TJ Watt, of course, has had one of the most disappointing seasons he's had. But Jeremy, I got to give it to you because otherwise you'll never get a word in edgewise.
but yeah, Mark. So you were saying that how everyone's talking about this team could go to the Super Bowl and all that. Shit, welcome to our life for the last 7-8 years, man. That's always been the thing. Oh, if Pittsburgh would just do this one thing, we're there. And it's guys, this team is not built to go. And that's exactly what you just said. So it's welcome to teams with expectations that aren't near as good as what they think they are. That's the life of the Pittsburgh Steelers for really the last 8 years. We haven't won a playoff game in 9 years. We're always above 500, but it's a hit or miss whether we make the playoffs. You're welcome to that boat, brother.
Well, it's a little bit different because first of all, we're coming off of multiple 5-6 win seasons. We won 3 games 2 years ago, and we drafted a quarterback at number 1. I'm curious what you guys think of Caleb Williams, but there's no question he's on the ascendancy and going to get better. How much is the question? But it's not. We're in a very different quarterback situation than the Steelers.
Yeah. Well, you have a future to look forward to, whereas the Steelers are sort of if it doesn't happen now, who knows? I don't know. My take is on what you were saying about about what do we think of the Bears. I'll just say what I think. I feel like you can sort of see the pieces falling into place. I don't expect that this is their year to really do much, but they're learning something about what they're doing, and I feel like Ben Johnson was a great addition for them. Caleb, I mean, I think the jury is still out. I think he's played probably as well as you really have any right to expect a young quarterback to play because he's still on his way learning the NFL, and they've adjusted to him, and he's adjusted to them, and Ben Johnson's having it's a whole new offense for him and so on. So I would say I wouldn't write him off. I wouldn't put him in the top 5 quarterbacks right now, but I think he's probably, I like his, let's put it this way, for comparison's sake. You compared him to Trevor Lawrence, another guy who was taken first overall. I would take Caleb Williams, at least 9 times out of 10 over Trevor Lawrence. I feel he's there's a chance for him to be a better quarterback over the course of his career than I think Trevor Lawrence will get.
I love the way you phrased that.
Yeah, so I just
you said a chance.
Yeah, you never know till they're, you never know till you see how it really plays out for them. But I don't really fear Trevor Lawrence when I go into a game against him. Caleb Williams is more like if he can make some plays out of structure and play well enough in structure, he can beat good teams. The thing is, it's not as consistent. That's a tough way to win in the NFL every week. So not everybody is like this. The magician who could just make plays happen off schedule their entire careers. But I feel like he's better at that than most. It's the sort of the regular part of the game that we'll see how he develops.
Let me ask you guys a question. This is one of the questions that I had sort of jotted down for tonight because I'm curious about you guys' take on Caleb. Because I want to hear a non-Chicagoan talk about this. Do you guys think that? Can you guys think of a quarterback who's kind of where he is at this point and how he's playing? Completion percentage below 60%. Quarterback, where he is quarterback rating and passer rating and QBR. Can you guys think of a quarterback who became an elite QB? I mean, we're talking top 5 that had his specs in his second year. My bias, I feel like guys really take their leap in their second year. We saw Joe Burrow do that. Drake May kind of seems to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We all know about Patrick Mahomes is a wonderkind who just did it his first full year. Technically, that was his second year.
I
but
kind of feel like you can't count either Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen in any comparison because Josh Allen would be a guy who maybe even took longer than the second year to really become Josh Allen. But he's also a super outlier. So I don't know if that's the best place to hang your hat.
That's fair.
I also, to be the number 1 pick overall kind of quarterback based on your college career, and then not come in and be sort of, good, solid player, not necessarily fantastic yet. That's tough. But I think that's quarterbacks. There aren't that many guys who are just absolutely can't miss, no matter what the situation is and what the surrounding cast is. And I don't think last year was a very easy year for him. With what the surrounding talent was and what the offensive mindset was.
And the coaching.
I guess what I would say to you, Mark, is as an objective person from the outside, this sort of feels like year 1A or 1B for Caleb Williams.
That's fair. That's fair.
Let's look by the end of the year and going into next year, and let's see where he is before we're going to decide one way.
I was very saying, Mark, because this is also the first year where he let Will kind of allude to it. He actually has a coach that's like actually developing him. Like, that didn't happen at all his first year. He was basically thrown out there and said, go save the city, kid. Let's see what you got.
Right.
It's like this year Johnson's coming. He's like, no, we have a very regimented process. You're going to learn how to play quarterback my way. And, I think you saw some growing pains at the beginning of the season, but he started to pick up, the better parts of it. He hasn't made near as many mistakes as the year has gone on. And I think that's where you see the most progress from is he's not making quite as many bad mistakes. He's still got to fix his ball security because the Steelers have been practicing a drill all week long with him holding the ball in one hand to strip it. I saw clips on Twitter yesterday and I was like, they're definitely ready for him in that perspective with the ball security part. But I mean, as far as the talent level that he has and the coaching he has now, I think there's a very positive outlook to see that he might actually be able to match his talent level with the situation he's in now. They've given him much better offensive protection. You mentioned the 16 sacks, halfway through the year. I mean, that means he'd only be on for 32 sacks if you projected that out over the 17-game season, which would be
fewer than that because we've already played 10 games. So
I mean, that's half of what you were giving up last year, which is just a huge mental bump. He doesn't have to worry about getting hit every time he drops back compared to what he was last year. The offensive weapons are better, even though I don't know why you guys can't get DJ Moore involved. It's really bumming out my fantasy team this year.
It's a conundrum, man.
Yeah. But at some point, I feel like they'll get everyone on track or whatever. It's just right now they have to do what they have to do just to keep moving the ball and just keep trying to win ball games right now. So I feel like that's just one more offseason away from maybe being more like Patrick Mahomes on schedule. And then he can do the off schedule stuff. All the crazy stuff separate from just what he's trying to do now.
I see. It's fascinating that Will brought up. First of all, I think everything you're saying, I can't argue with. And in terms of Will, it's fascinating that he brought up Trevor Lawrence, because I've told people that I think Caleb Williams' floor is probably Trevor Lawrence's career thus far. That's what I think Caleb's floor is.
That's fair.
He can be better than that, but there's a substantial chance, maybe 60%, maybe higher, that he will not kind of be better than Trevor Lawrence.
Right. But that's but that is when you draft a guy like that, that's the reality of it. It isn't like that's not a bad result. If you get
Correct.
Trevor Lawrence's career to this point,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're a little bit sad that you didn't do better than that. But on the other hand, it's like at least the guy didn't bust out. He's not Ryan Leaf, right?
So, yeah, Jamarcus Russell.
Right. So who famously, anybody from Chicago listening to this, the radio guys that Mark can't stand to listen to. When I lived in Chicago, it was like after Ben's second season that Jamarcus Russell was the top prospect in the draft. And a guy on the radio in Chicago was saying that Jamarcus Russell, within 5 years, will be a Pro Bowl player in the AFC. And he might have even said, well, yeah, I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl player. And I called in and I was like, well, wait a minute. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady are in the AFC, right? And I was like, is Ben Roethlisberger, did he stop existing? Like I started naming names and they were just laughing at me.
Phil Rivers was in the AFC.
Yeah, that Ben Roethlisberger, he's not even the 5th best guy in the conference, whatever. So I was like, okay, man, have a good day.
Right?
And I would really love to someday, meet that guy at a bar and be like, hey, you remember?
Oh my God, that'd be
Marcus
amazing.
Russell was going to be, yeah. So anyhow, we should talk a little bit about the line matchups because we should. You mentioned in your take about the Steelers pass rush.
Yeah,
against the Bears.
I want to know what you guys think about this weekend's matchup. I mean, that's kind of a lot of the point of this.
I don't know. And real quick here, just because I wanted to get to this because you brought up some of the Bears injuries earlier. I want to kind of go over the Bears injury report because it's not looking good for quite a few players on the defense right now. I know you said Jalen Johnson is working his way back. He actually got a full practice in today, so he's trending in the right direction.
He might play.
Kyler Gordon actually has gotten 2 light practices,
but he's out. He's not. He's absolutely out. No.
But I was going to bring that up. Tyreek Stevenson, another guy in your secondary, 2 light practices in a row.
Very key for us.
However, the guys that are not trending in the right direction are like every linebacker on the Bears, known to man. Tremaine Edmonds, no practicing this week with a groin. TJ Edwards, no practicing this week with a hand and a hamstring. And then Noah Sewell, no practicing, hasn't practiced yet with an elbow. So I'm wondering who's going to tackle on the Bears defense this week.
It's a problem. And considering our pass rush, that's a big deal.
Right. Yeah. So dive into, the Bears here, Mark. Tell us more. You're the guy that sees the Bears and watches them every week. So with the guys I mentioned in mind, what do you expect from the Bears? And
wait, is it going to be a big week for Amen Ogbongbemiga? Ogbongbemiga.
Say that again.
Amen Ogbongbemiga.
But the thing is,
he's like their 5th, linebacker.
The thing is, this is another player who's kind of a solid gap filler type player, but it's not somebody who's going to make a difference for us. Our difference makers are mostly the guys you named. Mm-hmm. Then, Jaquan Brisker, whose name gets whispered in terms of guys who are kind of just outside of the whole Pro Bowl level guys.
Yeah.
He's going to be out there. And so we have our safeties, but the losses at cornerback and linebacker are huge for us because you basically just named arguably our 4 best defensive players. Brisker's probably in there, but that's huge though, because our defensive line, Montez Sweat, big time disappointment. We've got a couple of injuries too. A couple of guys haven't really panned out. So we're just not strong up front. We're just not our pass rush. Our front four, not very strong. Our linebackers, the two best ones we have, both hurt. This is a major issue. This is a major issue for us. The Bears depend so much on their secondaries action in terms of pressing receivers and also blitzing the quarterback too. And we can't, the guys we have that do that best are not out there, or not going to be out there. Jalen Johnson's going to be out there probably, but how good is he going to be this year in this Sunday in his diminished capacity? Not sure about that. It's tough. Now on the flip side, because we want to get into the matchup, right? And it's one thing to say, okay, the Bears are diminished, but the question is the opponent. I don't know, in terms of the Steelers. You got Lockett, not Lockett, but I'm sorry, Metcalf. I mean Metcalf. I'm talking about Metcalf. Amazing player, right? And he's having, and as far as I know, he's having a really good year. But the Steelers, I mean, how do you feel about their athleticism at receiver? And because my impression is it's not that good.
You know how magic tricks are like, look at my left hand while I do something with my right hand. This talking about the wide receivers is like the thing that the Steelers hope that your defensive coaches and players spend all week trying to figure out their receiver situation, because they don't care. They don't use them. They're completely unapologetic about it. They run the least number of 3 wide receiver sets of any team in the league, as far as last time I checked. And also missing linebackers, they almost never throw in the middle of the field. It's like, what you're going to see from your defense is, because this is every week against the Steelers, is that DK Metcalf gets a double. He's getting maybe your number 2 corner and a safety. There's a safety on him, and those two guys have him all day long. Maybe when you get in the goal lines or red zone situation, maybe you put your better corner on him because you can't get safety help as much for that. But basically that's what's going to happen. So the question is, can your top corner deal with whatever else comes at you on the outside? Answer is absolutely. It's been true all year. And really going to come down to nickel play, because the matchup here is Steelers 3 tight ends that they like to use a lot, and their slot receivers who are shifty guys are pretty good against CJ Gardner-Johnson. So the thing is,
I forgot about CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, so
who's basically he's played well since he's come in. He's played well.
They'll put pressure on him with the run game. So basically what they'll do is they'll run at him all day long, and every once in a while they'll hit you with, oh my God, it's a pass play. I forgot what that's like. What am I supposed to do? So they lull you to sleep with the run game, and then they attack the nickel. That's really been the big thing for them. So the loss of linebackers, I don't know. It's a good week probably, as long as you got guys that can stuff the run in the gap, to play the correct gaps in the run and play it well.
The Bears are very bad against the run. We're much better against the pass. We're a bottom 12, bottom 15 defense.
Well,
we stop the pass much better than the run.
They're 27th in defensive DVOA, which is probably fair.
It is fair. It's absolutely fair. Now, of course, some of that's due to injuries, but overall, it's fair because first of all, we have no pass rush. We don't force the line of scrimmage, and keep in mind too, we've had an easy schedule.
Yeah,
which I just went through. I went through every victory.
The best part. Let me just tell you, the best part of the Bears defense, especially this weekend, is their running game. That is really the secret. It's like you run the ball well and you keep the other team off the field.
How are you guys against the run?
It's where they're not good. The Steelers are currently right now 23rd in the league in defensive rushing defense.
Yeah, we are very hit or miss there.
Yeah, so the thing is, they've had a couple games where they put up respectable games, but for the most part, that is the Achilles heel of the defense. We have PTSD from the playoffs last year against Baltimore. They ran for 300 yards of on the ground, and it could have been worse. They were just trying to run into stacked boxes at the end of the game. But we're still remember that with all the star talent on defense, it still have trouble stopping the run. So I don't know, getting back to this matchup, I think that both the way to neutralize the Steelers pass rush if you're Chicago is run the football. The way for the
And that's what we
Steelers,
do best.
yeah, the way for the Steelers to protect their injured quarterback is to run the football. I feel like this is going to end up being a real shortened game because both teams will probably have some success running it. I want to talk for a second about the tackles, Chicago's tackles, because Teo Bennett, that was a dude that, the starting left tackle for Chicago is amazing. Played at British Columbia. He's Canadian. He's a guy that, as a fan of all the small school and off the radar prospects, is somebody that I was totally, hip to. Very good athlete. And the matchup against Nick Herbig is you can't be a stiff. If you are stiff, you're too tall and like you don't really have like good bend. Nick Herbig will absolutely kill you without even trying because he's quick off the ball and he's got that super jab step that comes inside. I mean, not jab step, his cornering to get around the edges. He's going to make a short corner out of your offensive tackle unless they're athletic enough to match him with your feet. So if you have slow feet, you have bad balance, you're overreach, you're a waist bender. He's just like built to beat guys like that. But Benedict, I think, is a guy that has a lot of athleticism and is probably a tougher matchup for him than a lot of tackles in the league would be.
Been pretty solid, showed some good athleticism, really helped solve that revolving door we've had at left tackle. There's no question about it. Right tackle, that's where Ryan Poles actually has shown his probably best prowess, because Ryan Poles himself was an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And when he was hired, the thought was, well, he's going to, do all this and improve our offensive line, which, by the way, never happened until this year. And that's mostly because he got some really good interior guys free agency-wise. But the guy that's really shown is Darnell Wright at right tackle. He's probably going to become our first Pro Bowler drafted by Ryan Poles. He's done an exceptional job in both. He's done it both ways in pass blocking and run blocking. And, he's going to be matched up against TJ a lot, who, has been, for you guys will have to explain it to me more, and I hope you do, very disappointing this year. So I think I really like the Bears offensive line and what they're capable of doing in this whole matchup. And I really think this whole weekend, how this game goes, comes down to how much the Steelers can neutralize any advantage that the Bears have on the offensive line vis-a-vis the defense. That's what I really think this game comes down to.
Well, it's funny you say
ahead,
that because there's an interesting stat here regarding your guys' offensive line and the Steelers' defensive pressure. So Caleb Williams is currently dead last in the average time to throw this year. The Steelers currently have the fastest average time to pressure. So
what?
Yes, so it's going to be which side wins out I think is going to be a big indicator of who's going to win this game.
So the stat you just cited basically denotes that the Steelers get pressure quicker than any other team in the league?
Yes.
That's interesting because that's not the impression I've been getting.
Well, they've devoted a lot of time to blitzing, first of all. And Nick Herbig when he wins the matchup, he wins it immediately because it's all about his quickness and speed. So those two things right away are like a big factor. And like guys like Keanu Benton got a lot of flaws, especially in the run game, but creates a lot of quick pressure in the interior as well. So this is kind of the combination of all those factors is why it works. But I don't,
because the interior of our line is our real strength. Besides, obviously Darnell Wright, but the interior of our line is our real. That's the bread and butter.
I just feel like
it better be after you invest all that damn money in it.
Absolutely, 100%.
I don't know. I feel like
that's the NFL, man.
Both teams are just going to be in this game thinking we got to run the football and not let them just pin their ears back on third down,
right?
And depend on beating coverage and all this other business. It's just going to be about like who can be very physical in the run game. And Mike Kohlman, he loves this kind of game. This is the kind of game he just waits for, circles on the calendar And that doesn't mean that the Steelers are necessarily so much, are guaranteed to win because it's his kind of game. But I think it makes it and unnaturally lean towards a close game and a low scoring game. So, I mean, to me, bet the under. That's the main. That's my main takeaway. You can tune out of the broadcast
Wait,
now. Don't
I already did.
But
wait,
I
what
think
is
the
it? I'm
under's
gonna
safe
guess.
this
I'm
week.
gonna guess. I haven't even looked. I'm gonna guess the over under on this game. I'm gonna guess the over under on this game. I'm gonna say 43 and a half.
So it's
45.5.
funny. Well, what'd you say?
45.5.
It's funnier
Okay.
because earlier today it was at 41.5, and I took it at under 41.5.
Oh, good for you. I'm taking it at 45.5 for sure.
Yeah, I wish I would. Yeah, I wish I would have gotten the extra.
Yeah, I don't. I don't see
Oh.
a universe in which both teams make it to 20 points in this game. I think that would be.
I'm totally with you. I think it's
it'll
going to be a
be-
lot like last week's game score wise for the Bears.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think you hit on it right though. It's not so much about the skill matchups. It's really about offensive line versus defensive fronts. That's where the difference is in these two teams. Not the only difference, but it's the place where we're going to have to find out how it shakes out in this game. And I feel like if I were coaching against a team that's playing against the Steelers, I would be using the run game to make TJ Watt a passive player. Like if you can get it to where he is not involved in the action intimately, then it's tough for him to make plays. And it's like he's a guy that will make a turnover. And if the Steelers don't get turnovers this year, they don't win.
guess
They don't.
what? Guess what teams that sounds like?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you guys too.
Yeah.
We've done nothing. We've never. I don't think we've won a game this year where we didn't have a positive turnover differential and a substantial one at that. That's who the Bears are. And in fact, I can go back. It's kind of sad, but I can go back through the history of this team since I moved to Chicago almost 25 years ago. We've never had a winning. The only time the Bears have a winning season is when they get fluky turnovers. When they get fluky turnover differential seasons where they lead the league in turnover differential and then they have a winning season. And that's 2001, that's 2005, that's 2006, that's 2010, that's 2018, and that's this year. And I forgot 2020, which is the only other time other than the ones I mentioned that we actually went to the playoffs. So that's the Bears.
Well,
And
listen, Mark, the Steelers, like I said, living in, they're all about creating turnovers, and that's why how they want their defensive play, and that's why they're great, and they're going to win a lot of games. They're +8 in turnovers this year. The Bears are leading the league +16. The Bears are even better at creating turnovers, and it's like, these are little things. Your ability to, some of that's luck, and some of it is because you're playing towards it, and I admire both aspects of it. But
it's
like
it's fluky.
blocking field goals, at key moments, making game-winning kicks. Like these are not nothings in terms of a matchup. So you can look at like the star power of teams, but when it really comes down to it, line play, special teams, turnovers, yeah, those are all really big factors.
Let me ask you this: who scares you guys the most? I want each of your answer. Who scares you guys the most on the Bears going into this weekend?
Um, I would say Monangai. Honestly, we struggle with bigger, quick backs that are hard to tackle because our linebackers, while they are fast, they are not particularly like the super physical guys. And then, our best tackling linebacker Cole Holcomb has been out for the past few weeks with some mysterious illness that we don't really know about. So Malik Harrison has been playing more, but his physical style and the way the Bears want to run, that's what scares me the most, because when a team has success running against the Steelers are now forced to play both the run and the pass. They are really good when they only have to play one or the other, but when we have to defend both on a similar play, that's where our defense gets put the screws a lot of time. So I would say Kyle Monangai, just with the way the Bears have been playing. I'd be more worried about him going off for a big game than anyone.
I'm would say, I mean, that was going to be my first choice, so I will. I mean, I had the same exact thought as you. Um, DeAndre Swift's
Yeah.
not the biggest guy, but I still think he presents some problems. You're going to basically see, uh, Patrick Queen matched up against Swift in the passing game. I don't like that matchup for Pittsburgh very much. Maybe they'll Peyton, since the Steelers switched to moving Jalen Ramsey to safety, they cut Juwan Thornhill, they traded for Duggar, and they moved James Pierre, in the starting lineup as at the outside corner. That has really made Peyton Wilson into the role that I felt that he should have been even last year, which is your middle linebacker in a lot of cover too. That suits what the Steelers personnel is, but they were playing cover three with single high, way off the ball, and asking Patrick Queen to play deep, the intermediate routes in the seam, which is not his game. His game is blitzing, mirror the quarterback, spy a little bit, and play running backs in the flat. Like that's his game. But playing a quick, faster running back in the flat is a good receiver. That's not an easy matchup for him. You play a running back that runs routes, he will find the weakness in your defense. So they're not really built to stop guys like that. But in this game, I kind of feel like it's, Caleb Williams' ability to evade the Steelers rush without running into more of the Steelers rush. Like, okay, so if I'm, the defensive coordinator against him, I'm trying to bring secondary blitzes. So I'm getting my edge guys to come.
Just about to say that.
And then I know he's going to flush. This is where he likes to flush. If it's in the middle or if it's to his right or it's to his left, I'm going to make him think he's got space there. And then I'm going to bring somebody secondarily to that spot. That's what we're going to try to do. His ability to defeat that with even a couple of big plays, if he gets some chunk plays out of that, big day for them. If he doesn't, it's going to be, dumping the running backs and stuff that we see all year with the Pittsburgh Steelers when they can't get their offense going, and then it's going to be who runs the ball better.
Because I really think the Bears are going to run the ball really well against the Steelers in between the 20s. The key is going to be in the red zone, and I think a lot of that's going to come down to how much, and maybe it's with secondary blitzing, as you so aptly pointed out. But how much pressure can you get on Caleb from the outsides to keep him in the pocket? Because he's incredibly dangerous, as he's proven, when he is able to break containment, get outside the pocket. And then, now thinking too about this today, when I was thinking about how tonight's conversation was going to go, I mean, you guys should have a lot of knowledge of trying to stop that type of thing and what to do because of dealing with Lamar Jackson twice a year.
Yeah.
Lamar will hit you with the design runs are a thing that they have more, like the RPO game definitely slows down the pass rush for Pittsburgh. They look like a different team playing a guy like that. And I don't know how much of that Caleb Williams is going to use, but
we don't do a lot of design runs.
But listen, man, I know Ben Johnson is the guy who was the offensive coordinator, last year, who was killing teams with like whatever it was that was their weakness. He was, that was their medicine that they had to take. So, yeah.
And he's paying it, and he's paying attention. He's a top offensive mind, no question about it. And he hasn't been in the league a whole lot. It's like when you sit down at a poker table for the first time, right? You have such an advantage because nobody knows what your bluff is. And right now, Ben Johnson has a huge advantage because now he's a head coach, he's free of Dan Campbell, and nobody really knows for sure what his bluff is. But he has all this information out there, so it really puts him at an advantage in terms of matchups and trying to plan for teams. Because he knows what the Steelers' weaknesses are. And the guy studies like crazy. So he's going to, he's going to study film like nuts, try to exploit everything. My biggest fear, the Steeler that I'm the most concerned about this weekend, it's probably not going to surprise you. I mean, I still wonder how big of an impact TJ is going to have in terms of just taking advantage of Caleb maybe holding on to the ball a little bit too long.
Yeah, maybe. He feels hurt. That's the thing that you watch him this year, and it just feels like he's not healthy enough to go 110% on every snap, and he's sort of pacing himself and trying to come up big in big moments. And that's a different style player than he has been at his best. So,
But that scares me because it's going to be a close game. We all know it. It's going to be second to last possession type game because it's going to be a 20-17 or 17-16 game or whatever it is. We're going to be bored out of our minds for 70% of the game. Then there's going to be all this action at the end. And I could just see TJ making a huge play to seal it. That scares me.
It could happen.
Yeah, he's definitely capable of doing that. But like Will said, it feels like there's been games where it's like you can tell he's not fully there. The one thing that's helping him is we're rotating our outside linebackers fairly regularly now, so he's a little more fresh. So we'll always something to watch for.
Yeah, you got to make when you get long drives going, you got a chance to make big plays because the older Steelers players will definitely be on the bench.
Yeah,
get into the third quarter, long drive, guys like Hayward and Watt are on the sideline sucking air, and that's your time to be able to to do something more with it.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, when we're not that's this matchup is so fascinating because we're not necessarily that great at the long drives. Again, we take advantage of a lot of turnovers, shorter fields.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
It sounds very familiar.
I know it's they're mirror images really of each other in so many different ways. Are you guys scared? Like, what about our receiving core?
I mean, I will say guys like Luther Burden can give us some troubles in the past. I will say with us moving to this new safety look, the middle of the field has not been quite as open as it has been because typically like really good slot receivers and like good tight ends have given the Steelers fits for the last decade and a half, really. For as long as I've been a Steeler fan, we've had trouble covering. Yeah, longer. Trouble covering good players that play in the middle of the field.
And Colson Lovin will get a couple of catches. Burden hasn't had that many snaps this year.
Yeah, I've seen that. But I just mean that type of athlete and player can give our interior nickels some troubles at times in the past, but it hasn't been quite as prevalent these last few weeks with the changes we've made at safety.
It feels like the safeties, though, are playing very aggressively downhill into slants into underneath. And that I said this last week, and it was a couple of occasions where it nearly happened and came back to bite them. But they're going to be over aggressive on something and get beat on a double move or something over the top before this is all over. Just a question of, we'll see what pass protection looks like. It's sort of, if which team can run the ball and which team can not just pass protect, but like secondary protection, like beyond just like the normal, I kept the guy away from you for 1.75 seconds. I did my job, but like letting a guy get an extra second to let a guy get open. That's the key to this. And
like Roma Dunze, if he doesn't drop it.
Yeah, well, that's
because he's had issues with that.
Well, we'll find out.
And it feels like we've kind of talked this matchup to death here.
Been great.
Are we gonna pick scores? We're gonna pick a score.
We're gonna come back to that because we there's a few other games around the NFL that are.
Oh, you guys want to talk general NFL? Let's go.
Yeah, so we always do a little bit of a pick'em thing.
I love it. I was just about to ask that.
Yeah,
we do another hour where we talk about the NFL.
No.
I got a
abridged version, but there are some other big time matchups. We'll talk about a few big ones and then a real low light one. That's always fun to kind of predict the winner there. But kind of game of the week this week, and it's a big one for both these teams. The Colts are heading out to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs are at home, favored by 3.5. Will, I'm going to start with you. What do you think here? How this is going to shake out?
I'm glad you started with Will.
Yeah.
I'm gonna in the immortal words of Corey Korbowski, I don't really think the Colts are a 9-2
Yeah,
team.
right. God, that's his thing every week. Every week. Yeah.
So I don't really know what happened to the Chiefs last week. It felt like the week before that, and even the week before that, that you look at the Chiefs and you're like, yeah, the Chiefs are back. So I'm going to look at last week as being more of a speed bump, and I expect them to really have it together the rest of the year. And the Colts are a nice story. I'm just not sure they're as good as they look right now, and they're probably going to end up being, more closer to a 500 team the rest of the way. So let's call them a maybe they'll make it to 12 wins, but even that, I can't imagine 12-5 would be an amazing season for the Colts. So come back to the mean a little bit here. I'll take the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, I'll kind of build off that just very quickly. They don't play Steve Spagnuolo defenses every week. He's probably the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. If he's not, he's a top five guy. He's won multiple Super Bowls, and it doesn't matter who he has on that defense. He always does a good job of making the offense's job hard. And then on the flip side of that, I don't think the Colts have a very good defense. I know they just signed traded for Sauce Gardner, and he's still kind of getting broken in to that defense. But the Colts defense does not really stop anyone at this point. So I think just two halves make a whole. Chiefs find a way to win this. I think their offense kind of gets rolling against a defense that doesn't get a lot of pressure and doesn't cover that well. The only thing that will make this game close is if the Chiefs cannot run the ball. The Colts have a good defense when they can focus on one or the other, but not both, kind of how I alluded to earlier with Pittsburgh. So I like the Chiefs to win and cover. Mark, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, look, man, I look at this matchup. Uh, here's one overarching approach to looking at it. How many teams in the NFL have a top 5 QB and a top 5 defense? I believe the answer is one, and that's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And they're going to be at home.
Mhm.
And I think, despite their struggles this year, there are a couple things going on. They've had a lot of success, and they've had some injuries, they've had some other things, maybe some infighting or whatever, and they're playing with their food a little bit because they're a bit on cruise control. The Chiefs to me remind me of the 1993 Cowboys. And that's a team where Emmitt Smith held out that year. Maybe you remember. They started out 0-2 during the holdout. Jerry Jones ended up finally signing him to the deal that he deserved. And, then they did better. And then they had the Leon Lett game on Thanksgiving. And then they never lost another game that year, right? Because I think when they lost the Leon Lett game, they were something like 7-5, and that was their last loss. The Chiefs at 5-5, right around Thanksgiving, of course, that's next week. They're kind of a similar point, and they've had all the success, they've had everything, and now they're kind of ready to get into gear. This is a home game for them. I'm not a big believer in the Colts. I never have been because their quarterback's Daniel Jones, and I'm sorry, I'm never going to believe in Daniel Jones. When the Steelers played the Colts 2 weeks ago, I picked the Steelers in that game. My confidence pool happily won. 6 turnovers. All they did was all by Jones, by the way. I think Jones was responsible for all 6 turnovers that the Steelers received. 3 fumbles and 3. It's got like a perfect harmony too. 3 fumbles and 3 interceptions. That's kind of who Daniel Jones is. He's capable at times of playing well, but I think against the Steve Spagnuolo defense on the road against Chiefs team that's going to finally start getting into gear, I like the Chiefs by double digits.
Okay. All right.
By the way, just quickly, top 5 defense, top 5 quarterback, your Los Angeles Rams. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, only
they definitely
because,
have the defense.
Yeah, only because the top, the sense of who's the top 5 quarterbacks. After like 1, 2, 3, maybe you start really like the next 2 are really up for debate.
I don't love Stafford, but
hey, number 1 passing touchdowns, number 1 passing EPA. You know,
I'll listen to arguments about Stafford. I don't
Okay,
love
well,
Stafford.
we're gonna
I'll listen
because
to
we brought
arguments.
this up. They are one of the other big games this week. The
I had a
Rams
feeling that was coming. Yeah.
have another big game here in the NFC. They are hosting the Buccaneers. They are Rams are favored by 6.5. Mark, since you were talking about Stafford, let's start with you on
It's
this.
like a snake draft.
Right.
Yeah, I got three tiers of teams in the NFL, right? There are teams I consider contenders, and then there are teams I consider low-level contenders, and then there are teams that I consider to be, can't count them out, right? But there's only a couple teams I have in that real contender category, and one of them is the Rams. I think that's a complete team. I do think they are strong at the quarterback position. I don't, maybe Stafford's not top five. You could argue that he is. Maybe he is, but he's certainly capable, and he's already won a Super Bowl. You got offensive weapons. They got the Lions. Their defense is really incredible. How they put that team together, despite having no first-round draft picks in the last 10 years, until recently, is beyond it. Now, and that's a strong team. I look at Tampa, very talented team. I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. I think he's gotten a bad rap over the years. He's had some bad luck, bad coaching, but I think he's finally in where he needs to be. Unfortunately, his receivers are always hurt. But I think that's a talented team, good defense. Vita Vea in the middle. You got you have a lot you have a lot of strength there. They can do a lot of different things. I still like the Rams. I think right now they're probably the team to beat in the NFC. You could argue the Eagles, they'd probably be my other team. That's a whole separate debate. I hope we do get to talk about Eagles Cowboys today. But I say Tampa gives them a game. Rams win something like 27-20.
Yeah, I would have to piggyback off that. For anyone who is a regular listener to the show, I've been touting the Rams for like the last 3 years as like that team that it was a few years ago they kind of like snuck into the playoffs and made some noise, and they've built off of that ever since. Rams are just the overall better team here. That's all I'm going to say. They're going to win by 10 in this thing. Even though I feel like Baker's always there at the end. He always tries to make shit interesting. It just won't be as interesting as it normally is for Buccaneers fans. So with that, I'll kick it over to Will.
I actually I went to see the Rams Bucks game in 2019,
Oh,
and it was a game where Jameis Winston and Tampa Bay won 55-40.
I remember that game. Yeah.
And they've also had recently 34-24, 30-27, 37-32. That's like their last five matches up against each other. So I'm going to say take the over in this game. I think I think 49-5 or something, but I still like the over in that game. I am going to play a little bit of that the Corey thing as well. What's the Rams record? They got 2 losses or something.
I think they're 8-2.
8-2 and 6-4 for the Bucks.
Yeah, so I feel like Tampa Bay had this stretch where they've had an incredibly tough stretch, and they're kind of like, I imagined at the beginning of that stretch they were going to steal a win off of one of those teams that they really shouldn't beat. I really like the Rams. I just said I think they have a top 5 quarterback and a top 5 defense. But maybe this is the week where the Rams or the Buccaneers seal one on Sunday Night Football. Should be a good game and a barn burner. It just feels like a game where maybe, the Bucks figure out to get a couple breaks and win a game they shouldn't win.
All right, we're gonna flip the script here and go to 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. It's always fun, Mark. I always throw one of these. Oh my God, one of these teams has to win this week. Type of matchups out there. The Browns have to go to Vegas.
Oh man,
Shadur Sanders' first official start at quarterback for the Browns. I'll lead off here. Shit. I guess I'm gonna go with the Raiders because I don't think Sanders is ready to play quarterback in this league. I think you saw some of the things last week, and it's like, man, one, you can't hold the ball if Max Crosby's rushing. He's gonna get it. And I know that he actually played the Ravens tough at the end. I just don't see it overall being there. But I will say, if there was ever a matchup to bet the under on, this is the one, folks, because this is the one where I don't expect either offense to move the ball at all. You've got two defensive lines who can pass rush a little bit, and the offensive line play has been horrendous for both of these teams. Quarterback play has been horrendous for both of these teams. So the over under right now is at 36, and I'm still going to take the under because that's like you're maybe hoping for like a 2017 type of win there to push you over there, which I think is a stretch. So, but if I had to pick a winner, I guess I'm going to pick the Raiders. They're favored by 4. I'll take the Browns to cover the 4, but the Raiders to win. Well, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the Browns' offense has been so bad, especially with Dylan Gabriel, that should Sanders maybe gives them like a slight bump from that. They were 32nd in the league, so maybe they'll play at a level that's more like the Raiders 30th in the league. So probably fairly even on that front. Raiders have Max Crosby though. Poor guy is
I know
stuck in a situation that he deserves a lot better.
He's marooned.
Yeah, probably going to be there for a while. But yeah, I'll take the Raiders at home. I like your idea. I was going to steal that from you that the Raiders win, but the Browns cover, backdoor cover. That sounds like the right outcome for this game. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the under. I think it might be one of those games where sometimes when you have two really bad offenses, they just come into a game like this and like let it all hang out. I don't know. Shedeur Sanders, if they can pass protect for like a second or two, he might be able to move them a little bit more than they have.
Yeah. Mark, what are your thoughts?
If I wasn't so buzzed about the whole idea of talking football on camera, which I don't think I've ever actually done before, but until tonight, I would just be miserable about talking about this game and this matchup. Because, man, this is why I don't do sports for a living, because this to me is just an awful, awful game. It's an awful matchup. Nobody wants to see it. It's going to be on at 3:30 in this market, 4:30 in other markets, and some people are just going to get stuck due to blackouts and everything watching this game, and I feel terrible for whoever that is. I hope whoever that is has NFL, DirecTV, the whole Sunday ticket, because I would switch off of this in 2 seconds. But when I look at this matchup, you have two terrible offenses, and but you only have one terrible defense. But I also, I mean, the Browns have a really terrific, lot of great players on defense. But how motivated are they going to be? Right? They have nothing to play for. Winding down the season, they know they're not going to score any points, and they have nothing to gain. Shedeur Sanders, I'm sorry, this is not an NFL QB. He wasn't that great at Colorado. His only wins were against Colorado School of Mines and Colorado State, and just not even also Rams. That would be giving the teams he beat too much credit. He's just not an NFL QB, and it's very forgiving to say he's not ready. He's never going to be ready. He's like Bronny James, nepo baby, terrible player. The Raiders, Geno Smith had his moment in Seattle, but he's not good either, and he's facing a bad defense. But I just think bet the under on this. This is going to be something like a 12-9 game. So therefore, since I think the Raiders will win, I do think the Browns will cover. And but I'm seeing 12-9 Raiders, ugly, 3-3 at halftime or something like that. Just I don't even know if either team's actually going to get a touchdown. But that's how this game's going to go. Raiders win 12-9. No one will watch. No one will talk about it. And no one will care.
All right. I like that. All right. Now we're going to go to the 5-star matchup of the week, and that's always when the Steelers play, Mark, just FYI. Steelers have to go to Chicago. Right now, the Bears are favored by 2.5. Will, I'll let you start out here.
Ooh.
The Steelers have, I mean, I know you can't judge teams on what they've done in the past, but under Mike Tomlin, and even going back further than that, the Steelers have been so disappointing in Chicago over the years. Like there have been, I just feel like this show started in 2008, and every time we've talked about a matchup with the Bears in Chicago, it seems like the Steelers would be a little better on paper, and then they end up losing the game, and you're just like, what on earth? So I'm going to preemptively strike this and say, I feel like this is a very close game, and that probably a late turnover is the difference in the game. But I feel like the chances of that being the Steelers just reverting to the mean a little bit. I just feel like they're gonna protect Jalen Warren a little bit, which means he won't get necessarily all the handles late in the game when it's close. And then you could see something like a fumble or an Aaron Rodgers because he can't hold the ball, fumble, or just a random bounce off the hands of somebody, being the difference in this game. I will go. I don't know if I trust Cairo Santos to make 3 field goals in a game, but it feels like a game where maybe. By the way, the Steelers are I think the most recent team to win by the same score 2 weeks in a row. But I'm gonna say, I was gonna say 19-17, which is the score that the Bears won by last week. But I'll call it 19-16. I feel like that's a better score. I just feel like Steelers are better on paper, little banged up, playing a very similar mindset team in terms of opportunistic kind of a team, playing ball control football, attrition football. So they're accustomed to playing the style the Steelers like to play and beat teams with. I'll take the Bears in a close one, unfortunately.
All right, Mark, what do you have to say to that?
I don't hate the outcome Will's predicting, that's for sure. I also don't hate the reasons he's actually predicting it. It's a tough matchup because as we started out, an hour 20 minutes ago or whatever, we started out this conversation just really just laughing at each other about how similar these teams are in so many different ways, right? The quarterback situation is different, but so much about these teams is really the same. You have two teams that have injuries, they have flaws, they have obvious places to exploit, to be exploited, that is. Each team has its respective weak points that are obvious, and maybe they get taken advantage of. But the question is either team really able to take advantage of the other team that much? I think the Bears are going to run the football against the Steelers between the 20s, but then in the red zone, what's going to happen? That's when you might see the Steelers blitzing ability, turnover generating ability to put pressure on Caleb maybe from the outside with secondary blitzes and things like that. Maybe sort of help take advantage and keep the score down. And the Bears have shown vulnerability to those types of things against far lesser teams this year. And on the flip side, you got the Steelers. We don't even know for sure who's playing quarterback for them. They can run the ball, but how are they going to do in the red zone? How about some of their other matchups? Is Jalen Johnson, is he going to be back? If he is he going to be traveling with DK Metcalf? Hard to say. There's so many question marks in this game. Even getting, like you said, it comes down to the kickers too. Cairo Santos, certainly. I think it's a weird game. Both teams very turnover dependent. I hate to say this because it just sounds so silly to say, but I think a turnover probably ends up deciding this game. But that's been every Bears game and probably most Steelers games. I say Bears 20-17, and that's my call.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be one of those scoreigami games. Can we hit a random score that's never been hit before because there's been going to be such a lack of offense?
Hard to do when the scoring is so low, though.
Right. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Aaron Rodgers plays this week. I saw some highlights of him taking some snaps at practice. didn't seem like the wrist was upsetting him that much, but who knows when the live action gets going, how that's going to pan out. With that being said, I do feel like Rudolph will play some in this game. I feel like Rodgers is going to put himself in a bad situation, and Rudolph is going to deliver a win. I'm going out on a limb here. I think Pittsburgh is going to handle the Ben Johnson offense better than I think we have in the past. I think this defense has really kind of turned a corner. It's all going to come down the run defense. This is going to be a 15-9 ball game. I don't think there's going to be any touchdowns scored.
I love it.
Going out on a limb, going crazy.
I think 18-9 is scorigami.
I was going to say score
18-9
or 15-8 or both scorigami. 15-9 is done.
I was going to say 15-8 because I was thinking, what would be a low scoring scorigami game? There has to be an 8.
I don't know, guys. Better question we should have addressed is what happens if neither team turns the ball over in this game? That's a better question.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
I'll put my money on. At least one
turnover. That's a good bet. I'll bet. So there's a place where you can make that bet. That's a pretty good bet.
It's called Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas.
Yeah, it's called Vegas. But yeah, so I'm going with an 18-9 win just for the score.
Now it's 18-9.
Well, yeah. Will kind of talked me into it.
So you think the Bears are only going to score 9?
I gave it to him.
You think the Bears are only going to score 9?
Yeah, maybe.
By the way, perfect weather in Chicago.
I was about to say that's the other thing.
It's going to be about 47 and overcast or something.
No, it's just bright, sunny, and 52.
Right.
Okay.
So I with weather not being a factor in this game, I think it might level the playing field a little bit more. I don't know. But with that being said, thank you all for tuning into another episode here at the SteelerFury.com podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Kohlman. You're going to be a Smith and Smoking on the Best of Sports, joined by Will Masisak, as Bradshaw to Ben, Accidental Zen. And want to thank our colleague, Mark Sheppard, for coming on here tonight. Resident Bears fanatics. Thank you, Mark, for coming on. It was nice to get another voice on here. It's always nice when we get some guests on here to just give us a different perspective. So
it was a pleasure.
Man, it was really great. You should come on every week and just talk about not Bears stuff.
Oh,
yeah, right.
Anytime you guys want, I would love to join.
Well, if we get an Ohio State Indiana championship game,
I'll do college.
We'll have to have you back on.
I will absolutely do college for that, just because that'll be at the heart of it.
It's going to be USC Oregon. Everybody knows that.
Oh,
bro.
Wait,
just call that the Pac-12 championship.
Okay? Wait, who's your school?
I don't have one these days. It was one at one time it was Pitt, but then I moved away and followed Colorado a little bit. But these days, probably the school I rooted most for was whoever Cam Ward was playing for the last 4 years.
I was just about to say it's whatever quarterback he's liked coming out of the draft.
Do you still like Cam Ward?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's playing for literally the worst team in football. So
because I know you were a major fan coming out of college.
No, he still looks pretty good. They just have miles to go to have anything resembling a real team. But yeah, you can still see all the pieces there. It's just got so little to work with. And yeah, I think his clock was kind of rushed coming to the NFL and knowing that his offensive line was a sieve and knowing his receivers can't get open. So I think that will get better over time.
I like him. And I'd like to see him succeed.
No, I like him as a person a lot. Yeah, I think
he's going to have a new coach next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the better question. But again, thank you all for joining us. Have a great weekend. There's some good football going on. But here we go, Steelers. Hopefully we get to steal a win in Chicago.
Here we go, kids.
Thanks, go Bears.